Oh, do we have to do that way in? Look at them.
For her, it's okay.
Grab that.
Yeah.
If you want to leave it on
Are these different from last meeting?
Nikki, do you call the meeting order? Can I have a 1 second?
Yeah, I can make.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, you can call it and then I just want 1 second to share something and then we can move on.
Are these the same? Just this last one or are these?
They really should be. We only, a couple weeks ago.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Dave, are these fine? I didn't get a chance to look at these financials, the same as last. It should be the same.
We'll wait till that passes around.
Not quite the way. Jennifer's out,
I mean, that sounds like.
Steve, do you need a copy?
Probably fine, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Got everything?
All right, so what time is it? 11:33. Let's call this meeting to order.
And just real quick to start, we're gonna start recording meetings. One, because I'm horrible at taking minutes, and being able to keep up. Two, to keep all of us on track. So just making you guys aware we are recording. So
We have to prove that you record on meetings?
Nope.
Well, we don't? What, is it legal to record on meetings if
Yes.
the board doesn't?
I think she doesn't have to acknowledge that it's happening.
And do we have access to this?
we could send it out afterwards if you would like. Yep, if requested, anything requested, Freedom of Information Act can be provided. Within limitations of some city stuff, but most bid stuff I would think would fall under that.
Okay.
So,
All right.
We don't have to approve. We don't have to approve.
Nope, it just
No.
will be disclosed.
Okay. You guys all heard that? Our meeting will be recorded. We're gonna have access to it. I would say, I wouldn't mind. I know we've always kind of requested, like, how do we get our meeting minutes after meetings, and we've never gotten them. Is it something that we can send out following up on every meeting
well,
if it is being
we'll
recorded?
probably have to post it online because it'll probably be too big for
yeah.
email. I
Okay.
don't know if even zipping it'd probably still be too big, but we'll figure that out for you.
Or at least, yeah, like, let us know, hey, it's available and here's where.
Yep.
All right.
Is it just one more Big Brother thing?
Oh.
It's posted on some city
Really?
website, give us a link to
I'll
it.
link.
Is the video too?
Yeah, video. Yep.
So seeing everything?
Yep.
Where's that?
Where's that at?
It's right here.
Like magic.
Oh, great there.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. you
Is
did
it
my
another
hands
Big Brother
there.
thing or is it to help you with minutes?
Help with minutes. If you guys say we told you something and we're like, we didn't, you guys have evidence of what was said. If we say you guys told us something and you say you didn't, we have evidence of what was said. Just kind of works all the way around and
Do you record all the committee meetings in the city? recorded?
them,
majority, yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Council, Plan
I've never-
Commission, POC, Redevelopment Authority, yeah. So there's quite a few of them that are recorded.
All right, well, let's move on. We're all aware of that now. I want to let you guys know, I'm really sorry about this meeting. We do have some stuff that we need to get done, but as far as the timing, I know it's kind of an awkward time of day and it's Friday, but this is kind of our first opportunity for us to meet. We have some things that we need to make some motions on so we can move forward on some things. If you guys remember from our last meeting, we had a couple motions that we had passed or didn't pass. It turns out we didn't pass them. So we need those passed so that we can kind of move forward. But I don't anticipate taking anybody's time today. I think once we have the majority of these motions done, like I would guess within 15 minutes, let's just say, I'm going to fly through it and then we have some more discussion that I want to leave open. If you guys have to go, I respect your time. But as long as we can make it through our motions, that would be great if you could stick around. So, first things first, I guess previous meeting minutes. Did you guys all have a chance to look those over? Yeah.
I couldn't remember the back in the previous. minutes, but you brought up the thing about where the city was gonna send out a list of, all of the bid keys and where they came from. What property, we never got that.
Oh, that would have been from like a couple meetings ago, even.
You know,
Yeah.
and I.
And we
I'll be honest,
readdressed it.
John, I think I might have said that I actually have that.
Yes.
I think I could probably get it to you.
I thought we were sent, there was gonna be an annual thing they were gonna send out to all of the board meetings. Because it was back when we had a meeting with Mr. Nick.
Yep, I remember that.
Oh.
Is that something?
Who is gonna be the staff responsible for doing that thing? So that'll be a Billy thing? Since staff is required to be at our meetings, won't staff get that to us now?
Well, that's what we had a meeting before, the city was gonna send it to our board meeting members.
Right.
So once a year after the assessments are done, what the assessment on each property for the bid special assessment is
So
that?
you know what properties are coming.
Yep. Okay.
And that's something I think Nick and, the assessor's office can do pretty easy.
Yeah.
Well, I've asked for it before and never got it. So
Well, now you're on video recording, so we have.
Now it's on Billy to get it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good follow-up, because that's been 2 meetings now that we've requested it, so.
Any other questions, minutes, my name, what's the first name and the last name?
That's great.
Check the directory. Is 714.
I have one about too.
Hey, you got a name tag now today too, Stuart.
Yeah.
How about that?
And we got name tags, yeah, thank you for that.
And then at the end, it's just executive office, we got the covenant, it's at the coven, just wanna correct it. I don't know, I think it's done, it's not covenant.
Yeah, other than that, I don't think there, anybody else, any other?
I thought there was something in reverse order on this, but I guess.
I don't know, I guess it kind of follows, but, as far as like the board, I know we approved the next board, if we had any changes or additions with Lois. When does that go to council for approval?
But the, committee meets next week, I believe, and so, let me double check my calendar.
Yeah, I wanted to just mention that because we approved our board, but you guys will see like in the packet, it still has a couple names listed and it says Lois is still pending. It's because this approval hasn't been made to council yet.
Right, it's got to go to the appointment, the committee on appointments, and then they make recommendations to council. So it should go this month. I don't, not finding, I think the committee meeting's next week. I'll have to double check.
So if it's gonna take 2 months to get it done, do we need to do our elections earlier? If it's gonna take that long, because there's no council meetings and.
It always took that long. It had to go to the next appointment, and the council after that.
So moving forward, should we be changing that?
That's
I
mean,
your guys'
I think,
decision.
I mean, I guess this is
Do
the first
election.
year that we've ever heard it went through the appointments committee. I think from here it went right to
It was always
council
just
before.
presented to council.
No, it has to go to the appointment committee for them to make recommendations to council. Otherwise, council would never get it.
Yeah, well, it maybe did, but this is
Yeah.
the first.
Our
we've heard
terms
of
are
it, So,
on the 1-1, right?
yeah.
If you did it, so a bunch of them, I guess you could maybe do it right after that, so that's.
Yeah, that's so that someone,
I think that's a good
because
idea.
otherwise she can't be.
Is there any issue with that, Billy?
No,
She
you
could have
can't.
been.
And then the people just serve out their term and then new ones start?
Nope, that's fine.
And there was a question, Billy, about, Casey's not here today. So Casey filled his seat and his term expired, so he's already been elected, but he was concerned that he wouldn't be able to vote today because it hadn't been.
Nope,
But
if
it's already
people
on.
who are carrying over, they can go
Yeah, so it
ahead.
would only be for brand.
Yep.
Okay, got it. All right, I would say. if
I'll make a
there's-
motion to approve the minutes.
Do you have a second?
I had one more question. Yeah, just
Go
one more
ahead.
question. So we approved several things on here, including an operating plan. Were we told by anybody that that wasn't, since that meeting, since that was approved, were we told that any of those things in there were not approved? Did we get anything in writing about it, that they weren't approved or were they done wrong somehow? Or are we just taking it as an assumption that that's what I don't know. Staff send us anything in writing that was not legal?
Nikki reached out to me, when she was asking about this meeting, and as I shared in that meeting, the actions weren't legal.
Verbally, you shared it. Do we get it in
During the
writing?
meeting.
Anybody else? It's not legal?
I don't know if we discussed it on the phone or through email, but
It might have been through
Yeah.
email. I just know with the holidays, I just know that being told that that wasn't, I confirmed through email, and that's why this meeting is happening, essentially. Where that direction comes from though is from Steve Nick. I mean, is this like a
We-
legal matter that?
well, we verified with legal, but I mean, you can't do motions that are not on the agenda. That's state law.
Did that come from the legal?
Yeah, after the meeting, I followed up with legal on what happened in the meeting. So, yes.
They didn't send anything out saying why.
Same as I shared in the meeting, it has to be publicly noticed.
Why was that taken off the agenda in the first place?
They weren't taken off of the agenda. They weren't on it to vote.
It was taken off the executive agenda for sure. Right?
For the last full board meeting, they weren't taken off. They weren't on there for a vote.
So had we had that, so had Nikki asked for that operating plan that we talked about at the last meeting to be on here with action, it would have been on him.
Not necessarily.
Why?
Staff reviews the agenda and discusses it with the chair before the agenda is set.
So the city staff is gonna set our agenda.
No,
I'm sorry, did you ask for it?
no, you guys send it to us, but if there's something that inappropriate or that can't be done, we would follow up with the chair on it, so.
For today for action?
No.
You didn't ask for it?
I did not. Not for today. Mm-mm.
Well,
No.
was there something that was taken off the agenda?
Not on the full board
Not on the
agenda.
board, on the executive.
So
Yeah.
We never.
We had an action item on our executive committee to talk about the operating plan, and we had a motion, and
And we never,
I was not allowed to put that on there.
City staff asked it to be removed.
yeah, city legal staff.
I don't know if it was asked, it was just taken off.
They did remove it.
It was removed.
What was it? I didn't have to be taken off.
They didn't ask even.
But what was it?
Legal said that it shouldn't be on the agenda. The operating plan that was submitted had a lot of issues and concerns with it, and so they asked for it to not be on the agenda.
But we don't have to get our operating plan approved by legal. We have to do our operating plan, we have to discuss it, we have to vote on it, then it can go to the next stage, but until we have the opportunity to discuss and move it forward, that can't happen. It doesn't have to, our operating plan doesn't have to come from Steve Nick, it has to come from the board.
Well, regardless of
Well-
all that, let's collaborate, this should be really unproductive.
And I agree, and
We should go back and look at the mission statement. It was the last couple of months, it was right there, and it was, what is the South Barstow bid supposed to do?
quite a while ago, Dave Solberg shared that we would work on an operating plan together. And then operating plans started being created without any work together or anything. One of them that was presented, sent out to you guys in email, which violates open meeting law, sending out emails and
Not-
communicating.
There's no
Not if they
discussion.
don't reply, it doesn't.
And communicating via email with the whole board violates open meeting law and walking forum. So there's a second,
That's not true. If they respond, if no one responds, you can send emails out.
Yeah.
It's totally not violating open meetings.
How
And
will
it-
any work so?
Sorry, so in the spirit of collaboration, could we understand what the problem was with the operating plan so that we could work on it and represent it?
yep, we've shared that with, I believe at the executive committee meeting before it, we talked about it. I think Nikki and I have talked about it.
So we know exactly point for point what the issues are with our.
Here's the.
I don't know point for point, but I also sent an email yesterday suggesting at the next full board meeting that we have the operating plan. Dave would join us, legal would join us, and we begin to work on it. Hopefully doing it within 1 or 2 meetings, not making it a super long process. But I sent an email yesterday to the chairs requesting that we start moving forward so that we can get them done.
So, yeah, and so the issue was,
So
is that
we're not knowing what she's sending you then. the rest of us.
I didn't even look at that yet, so I haven't even looked at that. John worked on an operating plan based on other operating plans. We had that on our exec committee meeting as an action item to say, hey, is this something that we feel confident we can bring to the full board? Never was it ever an end all be all. We knew that that would be a starting place for us to be able to work with Dave. I think where the frustration comes in is that when we got that not only taken off our agenda, but then we were just given a different sample item and disregarded John's work on any operating plan whatsoever. And that's where we're not understanding. So what was wrong with that initial operating plan?
Yeah, and I thought we had discussed it, but I
I guess I never got an answer. I
I don't-
don't even know if we're gonna be able to work on John's moving forward.
So, and we could discuss that. I don't even know if the operating plan's on the agenda. But,
It's not.
But
okay,
We're talking about minutes.
We're talking about part of the minutes, right? We're getting a little off track here.
right.
And I think in the spirit of time, because I do think there's people that do want to leave, if we can move on, does everybody feel okay with that? Are we done with our previous minute?
I guess the only thing I would like to put out, if we are gonna get together with Dave and whoever work on the operating plan, how does the board feel about that? Do we need a full board working session just for that? And would you guys like to be a part of that? Or do you want exec committee to just focus on that and report back? Just because I'm hearing some feelings out here that people aren't quite sure about the process, and so if they want to be more involved or not.
Technically, we're not supposed to discuss that at this point. This is the previous.
Well, the question was-
And the motion on the floor. Second.
There was not a second. We were still discussing the minutes, Steve.
Drifting off though.
Yeah,
I would like
I
to kind
agree.
of bring it back, if you don't mind. And we do have a motion on the floor to approve previous meeting minutes. For a second.
But to answer John's question, I think that'd be fine. In fact, probably just use the operating plan from last year or something. I mean, to run around without an operating plan, spend 20 minutes, talking about it. We haven't even talked about a single issue. I have no understanding of what the problem is.
Yeah.
An operating plan. Yeah, I suspect it's a reminder.
Right.
So just get it done, get on with it.
You would think, yeah.
all right, looking for a second.
Looking for a second. Second, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Great, motion passed. All right, let's move right along.
Just skip over financials.
Yeah,
Change.
yep, current financials I had on here because I think we have it on every agenda. It was only been a few weeks since we've met. I do not think there's anything to discuss. A lot of the financial stuff is going to be coming up in our next couple agenda items. So if you guys are all okay with passing current financials, I just would be looking for a motion.
I do have one thing to add. We're doing some research on the Adopt-A Planner. I was made aware that it sounds like businesses are paying a regular fee, but I don't know where that fee is going because you guys are paying somebody to maintain the planters and stuff. So we're
Becky, I
doing
think,
some
is
research
covering
to figure out where that's going, if it's coming to you guys to pay the landscaper for it.
So Decky collects and operates the Adopt a Planner program and has done it for the last couple of years. So we collect the dollars from the businesses. Last year, the pricing structure that we used was from the previous year. And then when John reached out to Earth Planter, they came back with almost double the pricing on the cost of the pot. So Decky has all that money, which has been spent on the actual pot planters. There's still a few businesses who haven't paid yet. So I have all of that money, and if there's an overage, I'll be paying that back. That was to the bid. That was the intent. 2 years ago, when we did it, when I was chair, or when it originally started, it was done the exact same way through Decky. But there was about $963 that Decky had owed you guys, and I brought it up multiple times at meetings. We were told at that point from Aaron White that all of the money that comes into Decky through Neon is just a lump sum, and there's no way to track where it is and what it is, and that there were fees for payment processing that needed to be considered as well. So it just evaporated into thin air. So that $963 from 2023 still never got paid out to you guys. Now, when I'm in here, there is, right now, there's a budget of about $160 some that we owe you, but we still have 2 planters that were unpaid by businesses. So we were waiting to have those payments come in. I don't know that they will. So next year, when you do it, they're skipping this year, but when they do it next year, we had talked about this yesterday. John, we're gonna request a quote from Earth Planter that's good for 6 months or a year so that we don't run into a price increase. So basically, the maintenance came out of the landscape budget. They're covering it when it should have come out of the cost of the planters from the businesses, but there's no extra money there because of the cost. The whole stuff is increasing 100%. So that's kind of the situation there.
Do we have a motion to approve current financials? Even with that? Josh, thank you. Okay, do I have a second? Thank you, John. Any more discussion? Great, I think this is all gonna come up. I think the only thing I wanted to add to that is, just that nothing has probably changed from the last time we met a few weeks ago, and up to this point, like I would say majority, we'll get to it, but majority of our invoices did get paid from South Barstow to our vendors, majority. But anyway, so yeah, I just want to let you guys know we're pretty free and clear with our financials right now. They look pretty good. What's that?
We need to vote.
Yep, I think we just did a motion a second, so, all in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Great, that motion is passed. Moving on. A lot of these action items, like I said, they should go pretty fast. We just want to give you guys the updates on where everything is at. So garbage service, we talked to both GFL and TOPS. They've, confirmed that they cannot work with the downtown because of the type of garbage cans that we have. Earthbound is our only option. They're the only hauler that has the capability to work with our cans. And so we would, I guess I'm looking for a motion, if we even need to, that we would like to sign into a contract with Earthbound for the year 2025, since we do not have any other options. Is that something the full board needs any more information on, or any questions?
This contract's gonna be yearly, or we're not talking about splitting them up, right? Quarterly or?
I think with Earthbound is that we can talk individually about all these, but with garbage, we don't have another option. So I think it only makes sense that we do a year.
Do we have a quote though yet?
I think you're right. The motion should be, we approve it, but subject to quarterly billing. We shouldn't be paying them all
They
of
bill
that.
for it. So
They bill quarterly.
And they have billed quarterly. With Earthbound, that they need a service agreement in place to continue picking up garbage. So this is on their end that they're requesting that you guys have it. A year with the garbage company is even short when you think about their routes and planning that they have to do. Obviously, things could be changing with garbage service in the future, but at this point, Earthbound is the only company able to do it unless you guys would switch to the plastic cans that can be picked up at the arm. So I would say for Earthbound's sake, because they're already kind of at their wits' end with this whole situation, that if you guys switch to quarterly contract, that would be just a lot of work and really foolish. I would do a full year. Bill.
I would also support a full year, just at this.
You're saying a full year contract with bill us quarterly.
Yep, and that's how
Yeah.
they've been billed,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we have to revisit this every year anyway.
I guess,
Why do we pay them all up front?
We didn't, so.
so I know that was a mess. And I guess what I'm gonna ask is, can they give us a year quote?
They did.
They did.
And then can they just divide that by 4? Because I know this time of year, they don't pick up as much, but can they just bill us
Yeah. So they
quarterly
actually-
so we don't have this issue?
So they should have had this plan in place already. So they haven't submitted their bill for first quarter yet, but they should have done that. So last year, what happened during your second quarter is you got the bill from the previous, for the twice a week pickup, because it started earlier. So they added it as an additional invoice. I think it was 5 last year, and it was separate. That shouldn't happen. It should be all in the 4. And I think that can happen. You've been talking to Jamie.
I was gonna say, I just had a conversation yesterday. I requested for their sake, for ours, that we get into an agreement that says, here's when I'm invoicing, here are the amounts we're
Yeah.
invoicing for. If there's any overage costs that may, occur, or what the price would be. Just so that we can follow up on our end as well, on when they're getting paid out,
Yeah.
if they're behind as well,
Yeah.
I didn't know, I've learned a lot, but yeah, let's just say, yeah, we need them. I think they're really important. I don't think a year is that hard. I think we can revisit it before budget season again, which is only like 8 months away.
Do
So,
we know what the budget amount of what their bid is?
yes, it was in an Excel. I think when I get all the contracts, and we're gonna get into that, making a motion for that, but when we get into any of the any contracts we do get will be sent out to full board.
I guess the only thing that's hard is to vote on something that we don't know
Right,
how it
exactly.
compares to our budget.
Well, we don't have any other cover to use.
We have the numbers, let's just pull them up, we can.
Yeah, and we have the numbers.
I think Billy has it too, I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I'm looking for it here.
Oh,
South Barstow,
12,000 annual.
12,000.
I know, it's right up.
South Barstow's 12,000 for the year.
12,080.64
That
for the
can't be
year.
right.
Huh?
That can't be right, because
That can't be,
we paid
that
almost,
can't
I
be.
think we paid 20.
It was almost 20,000.
That's what the quote is.
That's what the quote is, right?
That's what was sent to us.
Well, that'd be great.
I mean, what, did it say something? Go back up.
It was more than that last year.
January to December 2025, 1 week collection, 32 containers, 726 each
1
per
week.
pickup equals 232 per week. Oh, that's the 12,000. It doesn't include the additional pickup, so
Right.
they would have to,
Here.
we'd have to do something with that.
Why do I have?
Is
It
there
was
something on down that
19,
talks about
no,
additional?
2024?
Yeah, we should know what it all.
Yeah, that's what Jamie sent us.
Why do I have the 2025?
So she's just
projected
doing the
rate
once a
coming
week
in at
for
21,
52 weeks.
339?
Yeah.
That's all that was in the quote that was
Right.
sent to us specifically, yes.
Well, no, this is an email I just sent to Billy. South Barstow, 10% increase, January to December 2025, once a week pickup collection, 32 containers of 736 each. But she said 32 per week,
21,
52 weeks is $12,000 annually.
it went up. a
Then
little.
twice a year
So we usually
pickup
allocate
is an
that for-
additional 377.52 annually. That was just for the Lismore can. So you have an additional 377 for the Lismore can. And then twice a week pickup starts in her.
Basically, go ahead and read that.
I was gonna say,
Cut to the chase
I'll
here.
cut to the chase here. 2025 projected rate in total, there are some twice a week pickups, there's some once a week pickups, depending on patients. And including recycling, was 21,839.98, up from 18,598. So there was that 10% increase and brought us to the 21. We've always in our budget typically allocated about.
I was gonna say, what is our budget? Is this the 2025?
It's like 19 something.
Nikki,
So I'm trying to
did
find it.
that come right from Earthbound, whatever you're looking
Yeah.
at?
No.
Yeah.
Can
I
you
don't
just send
remember.
that to Billy and I, because we don't have
Oh,
that.
this is
That's
that, this is.
the only one I would ever gotten, so I should have sent it. as-
Last year's budget.
And it might, I'm looking
I
at
thought it
the
was
email
20.
that Aaron sent, and it has bids 2025 trash
Yeah, that was
collection
24.
attached email from, Earthbound. That has that amount, so.
Remember you guys had a meeting at Hoover. Jake was there.
So, yeah, if you could just forward that over, Nikki,
Yeah.
and we can, yeah, have that in the PO and everything. But what was the total amount?
I think what
21.
we're asking.
It's 21,000.
today Is that
I
we
just
need to get.
800 and
Yeah.
something.
Last year
You
you
just
spent.
talked about 14. And they're the only people we can use.
Which I think when we did our budget, we knew, we kind of knew it was gonna be short. I knew,
So then if it's more than what we budgeted, we could change that right away.
Yeah, you'll have double money.
And that could.
21,839.98.
Yeah.
so we'll have to
I
either,
still haven't heard the total amount.
21,800.
21,839.98.
That's the, yeah.
Is that in the contract or is that through email?
This was like the spreadsheet that she sent to,
And this includes the.
Yeah,
amount of
Jake
pickups
back
we
now,
did,
yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Well,
And what did we budget?
if that's what you guys,
I can't find my budget, but I think it was around 20,000.
if that's what you guys vote on, that's what the agreement will be for. Yeah,
I
that's
think
what you guys vote
I
on.
think we're just, voting to enter into a contract and we can finalize those details.
So Nikki, I think, you should let them know that ultimately you'd be the one signing off when they come through, and so you're looking for a motion for you to be able to approve these.
Well, that's on here.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know that they're willing to just vote without a amount was what I was hearing.
Well, and we have the amount, right, 21,839.
Do we know what we budgeted for garbage removal?
Yeah, it's not enough. It was like 19,000
I'm just
something.
asking.
Probably was
Do I
40.
have the budget for next year? Staff?
With me? No.
I just was wondering.
I don't know, all these papers, I
All
don't
these
have it.
papers. How do, okay,
I
so
can make a motion that we would, agree to let Chair Nikki enter into a service agreement with the garbage company for the amount of $20,839.98, to be billed quarterly. And that we would take any excess funds out of reserves covered. Does that do it?
does that make sense?
Except for Julie said it's 12,000.
No,
That's for the regular.
that's if we didn't have twice a,
We've
week
we've had a
ever.
whole other conversation after that.
The 12,000 is, yeah, that's for one line item. There's about 5 line items.
So you guys, we added 8, recycling bins last year. Was it last year, John, or was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago now.
2 years ago, so obviously it increases, so their recycling is $6 a can, their other one has increased to 7 something, and all the garbage services are increasing, you guys obviously know that, there's been new licensing fees attached for garbage haulers to license their truck, so across the board, they're going up. That being said, yes, the 12,000 was more regular when we just have a can, so recycling are being used, and the update from Earthbound is that, that people are using the recycling bins appropriately, so it's been effective. Also, there are cans that, you know, as we get more businesses downtown, they're just filling up. So there, down by Phoenix Coffee, there's weirdly, no can in front of a Dante at all. Not that I'm suggesting adding a can, but there is more businesses that have to go up. And so your garbage is filling faster. So in the past too, we did twice a week pickup, May to October. But it was really kind of, they would call in and let us know if they thought they needed it or not. Since Jazz Fest and Marathon start earlier, they started noticing that the cans needed to be picked up a little earlier, so they'll kind of let you know, and they're not adding on, they'll pick up twice a week cans as needed, just so you know, before, they'll let us know basically if you're looking like you need service, but they're not gonna just collect.
So we have a motion on the table. Did
Yep.
anybody
And
want a second?
Just going thank you. And just going forward, there has to be a motion and a second before you can discuss the motion.
Okay.
Because if you're having discussions about stuff that we don't even know what
So
we're
do we have to
discussing.
further discussion?
Well, do we have?
Can we do it in a second?
Yeah?
Yes.
Second.
Okay.
All right, great. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Thank you for motioning. All right, let's move on. Music. This one should also be fairly easy. Right now, well, good. There's already stuff in.
We haven't had an easy one yet.
Music. So we are working with Converge. There was a contract, I guess, that shows up mid-year. So currently, we're in a contract with Converge to do the music from July to July or end of June. So right now, there's really nothing that we need to do. We're in the middle of a contract. So we've got them until end of June. I did discuss with them at that point that I'd really like to get started on a January 1st basis. So at that July meeting, we can look into music. If you guys have any suggestions, if we want to, compare pricing anywhere. I can't say we found anything comparable. But anyway, we can do that before that July contract that we would enter into.
Here's a question on this particular expense report.
Yeah.
You've got, on the last page, you got music between 0. It should be 15,000.
No, they paid it twice last year, remember from the last meeting?
It should be 0 because I don't believe they've gotten paid yet. They should be getting paid like right now.
Yeah, we went through and verified everything. They've been
Yeah.
paid up to, was it July? but we need to pay
Pay
for
for this next full year. Yeah.
24 through 25. So.
And that was
We
all
went
in-
through and
Yeah.
all the financials from years past to figure out what they've been paid and what they
And I
haven't.
have
So.
like email and like messaging through with Colin at Converge. He's he's
Yeah,
letting
they-
me know when he's getting paid.
Entity change, and during that time, the person that was doing invoicing had left Converge, and so the invoice in 2023 doesn't have our bill. That's why you're seeing those two payments.
I also think I was fully unaware that it was like a July to July
Yeah.
billing. And so I think that's where it got a little funky. They weren't even quite sure when they were supposed to invoice.
And
So
when it started as a 6-week contract, and that's how it ended up, because in June, the board decided to approve. It was kind of a trial period to see if you guys liked it. for 6 months.
I did put motion, there's really no motion to make. We're in the middle of a contract and we'll discuss this again before July. But if anybody has any suggestion for music, like bring it forward for sure. That sound good?
To Jeremy.
Bring it to Jeremy, our chair of music.
Wouldn't the action required be to, approve the chair, the ability to pay, authorize payment and that? We still have to do that, right?
Y'all
It's
have
been
that as
operated.
you guys also have it as
It
a
should be.
separate agenda item down below, so we don't need to keep making motions for them.
Okay.
Yep.
It's item
The
number 9. Agenda item 9.
Okay, all right,
Agreement,
all right.
yeah. Okay,
So
so
then,
if we can fully move on, if you
Can we
guys are
just-
okay?
can we just move down to that one then?
Yeah, good.
I mean,
You'll have to make a motion to move it up.
Yeah.
We need a motion.
Okay, can we have a motion to move a line item number 9 up?
To number,
Up to number
before 6.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Steve. Can I have a second? Wonderful. Any discussion? Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed?
Right.
Great. So yeah, basically this is the reason we are meeting here today. This was a motion that we had tried to make at the last meeting. We're asking the board that the committee chair, and I do believe we extended that to the committee chair,
Yeah.
would be able to enter into those contract agreements. I think, John, you put the last motion on the table for that, if you remember.
Mhm.
It's in the minutes anyway, but yeah. I don't know, we discussed it last time, we agreed to it last time, so I'm only
So
assuming.
the motion would be to authorize the, executive committee, is it not
The
executive?
bid chair or,
The chair of the committees to enter into a service agreements and authorize payment.
So you guys already pushed that last time. I think Nikki's looking for when it comes up and she needs to do it, so the chair can enter those agreements.
like, sign the contract basically
Sign.
without having to,
Thought that one was.
that's why we can approve it now, because it's on here.
Right.
Yes,
So we still have to.
we just still have
Yes.
to approve that, yeah.
So the motion would be to authorize the committee chairs to enter into agreements, service agreements, and authorize payments on their respective committees.
Any questions, guys?
Should there be some boundaries on, it? I mean, pre-approved,
We have the budget numbers already, Steve, right?
yeah.
So just say that in the motion,
Subject to their budget.
subject to the budget.
Right. At budget time every year, you guys agree to allow the committee chairs to spend within the budget. The change that you are looking at in this motion is to give them the ability to sign the contract, not just delegate the work through the budget, because things have changed. So it's just kind of an add-on to what you guys have already approved back in August that you do every year.
Yep, thank you, yeah.
Great, I move to allow the committee chairs to sign contracts within their budget fee.
Okay,
And authorize payment.
And I'll bring it, yeah.
that was our second, I believe.
Still second.
Rita, Steve, first, second, any discussion? Great, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, I guess we can kind of bump back then to landscaping. Yeah, and a lot of this is just us leaving you guys with the information. That kind of blankets our ability to move forward, and that's kind of the reason for the meeting, but we wanted to get you guys up to speed on everything. As far as landscaping, we are gonna need an RFP We sat down with our current horticulturist yesterday and we started that scope of work. We're prepared to hand that over today or, you know, within the next week so that we can get that going because that RFP process takes about sometimes between like 3 and 6 weeks. So she starts her work as far as purchasing as of mid-February. So we need to get that done now. And we started the work and everything looks good there. We will know a lot more once we send out this RFP. You know, people are concerned about, I guess, comparison to pricing using other vendors. That is what an RFP is going to tell us. So there's really not a discussion. We did not look into anything more. We will learn that from the RFP. Is that correct?
And that means once you sign a contract with them, they're not gonna pick you on, how many tulips they buy and how many receipts you got and all that kind of stuff.
Because it would be covered.
Because it's within the scope of the contract, right?
Right now, a lot of frustration's been because every time she needs to buy a tulip bulb or this or that, we've had to go through this whole procurement process with the invoicing and it's been a nightmare. RFP, as long as it's listed within that scope of work, that should clear that up. It should be a lot easier year for her and for us and for you guys.
The invoices will still have to list what service was provided and stuff, but yeah, it'll all be approved ahead of time so that it should be able to turn around the payments quicker and
Looking for easier. Is there anything more you wanted to?
it'll have a set price.
I guess just to
Things per year.
clarify, finishing this up, because you started the legwork and I wasn't able to be there. Jen probably is 85-90% of our budget between her services and products that she spends money on. But we do obviously have irrigation system, things like that. For the most part, they're small, or they should be small now. Is it recommended that we have her take on those?
That's
And
your
then-
guys' decision and whether.
Because
you want-
otherwise, if we
You
need,
would need to include it in the RFP if you
Yeah.
want them to manage
We
that
did
part
discuss
of
that
it.
yesterday,
So-
that it might be easier for her to 1099 the irrigation,
okay,
some of those.
okay.
Usually, and it comes up quick, it's like an emergency situation when besides the blowout and the other part. So for the irrigation, it's gonna be easier for you guys to subcontract it out so that when it happens immediately, because the city said they won't pay for work retroactively, right? So if,
Well, emergency situations are different if it's an actual emergency situation.
sure, well, last year, like the water main broke. So,
Right, that would be different,
But
something
that
that would,
happened prior to all this.
right, I'm just saying that, his not billing you a lot, it might be better to work with him, but you guys can put that in
Yeah.
if need.
And I'm wondering, I kind of want to ask you guys on the board, because this RFP might be a really lengthy little process. And I don't know if it's very productive for us to keep getting back and meeting like this. Can we, I'm maybe looking for a motion to allow committee chair to approve the contents of the RFP? Or would the full board like to
Didn't we
see a
already-
look at
didn't we
that?
just-
Isn't that part of the contract?
An RFP is not the contract.
Sign service
So-
agreements and.
That's for the contract that we would sign with Lily.
Is
But
that a
this
different
would be
thing?
like-
I mean, do you need,
I mean, it's up to you, them, they approve contracts and making payments, so I think
but
it's,
the RFP
Worth
is
the
basically just
discussion
sending
of-
out a big bid, right?
of if they want to approve what the RFP is for, or if they want
Oh,
you
I
to
got
do
you.
it.
Right.
So-
Are you
The
guys,
services,
yeah, is
yep.
there any questions? Does that make sense? Do you guys want to be involved in the RFP process for the landscaping?
You want to.
No.
So do these, does the city or do you send out the RFP and does it go to other landscape people?
The city does it through their, we have a system that we put the RFP out on that anybody can go in and access. They have to sign up for an account to submit a proposal. If there are specific, companies and stuff that it's desired to be sent to, that contact information would need to be provided to us and we would send it through the system where it explains to them how they would, go in and sign up to submit a proposal.
And I just want to say, you know, we like Jen. She's been wonderful to work with. We're already currently working with her. I don't see why we couldn't sign a contract with her right now. But
You can't before the RFP process.
Right,
That's what
right,
she
but that's,
was
yeah,
saying.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, as far as us seeing other bids, I think it'll be curious, but I do think that she's the lower end of
Yeah, and I think we should remember too, some of you were on the board before we started, dealing with landscaping, Green Oasis was doing the survey. And mostly it was kind of temp laborers, not that they didn't do a good job, but they didn't understand the plan. So they were cutting off the flowers that were gonna bloom on the bushes, the way they were pruning wasn't great, and we had them come about 4 times a year. At that same time, we had, weeds growing up as tall as the trees on Graham Avenue, to the point where you could.
You will
see.
need one.
And so the work that's been done over the last 3 years has been a significant improvement. Not that another company couldn't come in and make what she's done, but it's been a big overhaul, and so, I've seen a lot of positive, faces downtown from the people who live in the apartments, especially on Graham Avenue, over the last 2 years for the improved, streetscape, so.
It's my understanding as well that we can get 3 requests back and the board can still choose who they.
Right.
do
With-
business with.
Within reason, yep. We've said that the whole time, so, I mean,
So we'll know more then. I think we're looking for a motion to just allow committee chair, John, to move forward that RFP process. So was that a second?
First by Stuart,
Stuart,
second by
thank you.
Josh.
Thank you, guys. Any more discussion? Wonderful. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Okay, moving on, I'm handing this right over to Dave.
Lighting, I'm working on, service agreements with the 2 providers we have right now and, hope to have that done and approved shortly, but we really just have Thomas Lee and Green Oasis on those. And we did have a service contract last year, so we just have to tweak it so that it works within the new.
And you don't have to do that, be correct.
But you will need.
you'll need quotes.
Well, I don't know. We'll find out.
I put action required. It doesn't sound like we need any. Do you guys have any other questions on lighting?
And one more thing in lighting, we had like big plans, we want to do a lot more things, and none of us have had even a little bit
Yes.
of time to try to improve on what we're doing. Because of all the harassment we've been doing, for all the new rules and changes we've had.
We lost a bunch of money.
Quite honestly, we don't have the brain power to keep up with it, so.
But it sure would look nice.
It sure would, yeah, it sure would, it'd be nice.
This is kind of,
The funds left.
And the
Yeah.
funds left. Yeah, that was a big thing.
when, like, this unique situation with lighting, there are just not lighting contractors in this area. How is
Same as
that gonna?
trash.
I can get them, you know.
Same as trash, you'll still have to provide 3 different quotes, even if they don't.
But what if there's not a company that can provide a service?
You would still have to contact companies for them
So
to
you'd have
say,
to go
no,
out
they
there
don't
and
do
have
it.
Well, a
No.
company that would reasonably supply it, because like you see signs right now with a lot of like lawn companies that will do holiday lighting. So
Okay.
they have work during their time off. So you would just get them, reach
Okay,
out to them, and
gotcha.
then they're like, nope, that's not something we would do.
Then-
That suffices.
Yeah,
Okay.
and document that.
The closest was, Wisconsin Dells area. They came, remember they came.
We'll give them a call, see if they'll travel.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Okay.
Be a worthless phone call, but that's your procurement. Okay, this is the last one. We've got some other stuff to talk about, but this is the last one that we need to make a physical motion on. Snow removal. This was from our last meeting as well. It did not pass. We reached out to a couple different companies, no contact back, Rainmaster and Royal. We currently use Quality Lawn Service. I had reached this out back last month. We already started a purchase order for
We
when
just-
this invoice comes through, if we need. snow
We just need a follow-up email because what you sent us for the quotes didn't actually have anything. And you responded to me yesterday on it.
I'll follow up
Yep.
with that, yeah,
Yep.
but yeah, we did not receive anything back,
Yep.
so. Yeah, so we haven't run into snow removal, but I do believe we don't have a line item because we lost our money this year. So we're asking that we can take money from reserves, is that right?
You already made that motion.
It did not
But it didn't
pass,
pass.
so we have to do it again.
That's why, yeah.
And then isn't John in charge of that this year, the scope of work and when you ask them to do it? Didn't you take that over? I sent you all kinds of stuff.
Well, you said I was taking,
I sent you all the files.
yeah, you said I was taking it over.
But let's get back to what we need to make a motion on.
We have to authorize.
Thank you.
Is if we need snow removal, will you guys, be okay with us taking it out of reserves? Or it just sits and we do not?
Kind of the budget issue, maybe this is something that really should be looked at a little closer. I just never really understood why the bid was paying for snow removal to begin with.
On the sidewalks, we don't do private property, just like at my house, they don't come out.
We follow our sidewalks now.
The sidewalks, they do the boulevards when it gets to be like icy and people can't access, up from their cars or get their car open.
It's the curving gutter.
Curb gutter, yeah.
Well, I think the city could spend a little more time downtown. The valuation of the properties per lineal foot of street frontage is very high downtown.
My understanding is we do come through and help with that when they put it out into the street and we come through and clean all that up after the company does that.
I just want, the properties we have, we take care of the snow ourselves.
Mhm.
And again, the city should do the curb and the gutter and the
Now-
street.
I was with the understanding that snow removal was when you get the heaping piles and like the, city parking ramps,
No.
or not ramps, but,
It's the boulevard area, so where people need to access the sidewalk, if you remember that year when we got so much snow that it narrowed it to like one.
yeah.
So it was those, and when the city did it, it unfortunately took out a bunch of our benches, the brand new benches and garbage cans, and it was kind of at that point that this switched,
Yeah,
because there was a huge expense left.
because they're very confident they're not supposed to pay for it. I mean,
Oh,
look at all around, I know a bunch of guys like that. Can't fix anything at home, right? Breaking everything and their wife never makes them fix anything.
the problem is though, you have small
This is on
businesses
video.
that,
I think in a perfect world, you're right, Stuart, but
you have small businesses that are impacted by this, they don't have the ability to get a skid steer when it freezes over or whatever.
I was on council and I had to work really hard, even then, to get the city to kind of do the curving gutter like that, because they did used to do it. But then we redid the streets and we got all those amenities on. And that sort of became a problem with the guys running the graders and stuff that did destroy a bunch of stuff, so. I think that's when the city sort of decided they couldn't do that anymore. So then we said, well, maybe we could just push it off. And we had a guidelines with a certain height, and I think, quite honestly, we haven't done it for like a year.
Yeah, to be fair, it hasn't been done.
It may get done once a year, honestly.
Right. So like last year, during snow, and
Right.
a bunch of money that was spent on,
We went into research.
yeah, it seemed like more of a cost shifting thing than really something that needed so much, but,
And we did not budget for it this year because of that.
Yeah.
That's why they're asking for reserves, just in
Right.
case, okay?
We did, our
Just in
previous
case.
motion from the last meeting was a motion, for up to 15,000 for snow removal if needed. from-
Don't say that.
yeah,
That was Casey and Rita.
Yeah. That's like-
looks like the different charges. I question the water and stormwater charges. That's a little bit of penny ante stuff, but it's really the snow removal is theoretically doesn't make a lot of sense in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And, it's a great improvement to the district to have the banners and the flowers and the music and all that. Snow removal just seems like it's a cost shifting thing. It may be from property
I agree.
owners, select property owners that won't shovel their own sidewalk.
Well, and then, right, do we stop doing it and then take the chance?
You
And
take it
then,
from like,
you know.
we have a company hired that shovels everything out to the sidewalk and Jeremy pays his share of that. So somebody down the road doesn't want to do that. and
Well, I
they
don't think
pay for
it's that sort. I think the fact is that so the businesses are shoveling their sidewalk because they need people to get to them and obviously they could find where it didn't. But it's the boulevard when plows come through that build up this heavy stuff that you can't do it. I mean, I'm probably the strongest person at St. and if it's an ice block, I can't get through it. We don't have skid steers. We try to do our best, but it's not gonna happen. Acoustic is always a problem. There's a lot of people with wheelchairs that go through, and then you're starting to get problems on those corners that build up over the accessible ramp. So I don't think it's out of line to ask business owners to take care of it. I just think when it becomes a massive problem, when you have a massive snowstorm and the ability for someone like me to do it without equipment.
Have you guys recognized, did it get worse since they changed the not odd even parking downtown?
We just haven't snow.
Hmm.
I mean, it's melting, so
Yeah.
I wanna say cross your fingers, but I also like to go sledding again.
Aaron, you said that it's, when the plows come through, they create the problem.
Right, but
So
really the streets.
we're cleaning up the city problem from.
No, so I would like to know with our streets snow removal, there's 30 different routes that those crews go out and do. They start with ice routes first, for safety issues, and then they go through and they do everything else. So while they do overnight and it's easier to clean downtown, by the time they get to the day where it's cleanup, where they're trying to get the boulevards clean like they do on Hastings and everything else, y'all are in full swing with your business hours and everybody is parked. So it's hard for them to get in there unless they do another overnight with the graders to be able to get in there. So it's not like they're doing it on purpose. It's not like they're doing a crappy job. It's just that by the time they get to that portion of being able to do it, it's not feasible to say, y'all can't have parking in front of your businesses downtown.
That's not totally accurate.
It is not all done during, the cleanups are not done during the night.
They're scheduled with the private company, and then when the city comes through, it's
They
scheduled
do it at night.
They do some of the plowing, yes, they go through and they plow your routes at night, but the cleanups happen days after during the business days. That's what I'm saying.
Not ours, it happens at night.
They coordinate and they have the night.
When we pay.
And there's no parking downtown. So they do that now.
I'm saying our streets crews.
They are your
They,
street crews.
they coordinate with their, when they hire snow
partner.
removal
The
to.
city comes through and puts them in.
Yeah, they partner.
So they would make
Blower
the
and they put them in the
call,
dump truck.
then the private company and the city coordinate a day that works for them, and then they.
Corey Teach or somebody from streets would
Yeah.
coordinate when they were gonna do it and they do it overnight.
Stuart, I fully agree with you. I do feel like this isn't something that maybe we should handle. I think it is one more thing we can't fight at the current moment. So I don't want to disregard that. I just don't know it right now would maybe be the best time to say we're not going to do it this year. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
Well, I think.
Well, I think we're in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody would like to make a motion one way or another?
Rita, you seconded $15,000. We pulled from it last time and it didn't get passed because it was not supposed to be voted on. Are you interested? Sure.
What's your motion?
The same.
And if we look back at our previous meeting minutes, it was a motion for up to 15K
$15,000.
to be taken, for snow removal, to be taken
From the reserves.
reserves.
Reserve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
John will second?
Yeah.
Okay, any discussion at this time?
The only thing, so, is I like,
That's my discussion.
what is it?
I do Stuart.
Yeah, well, it makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense.
It does.
And the only qualms I have with that a little bit is that, you know, you have people like that have alleys, they gotta share, and somebody has to remove snow from that alley. Will all the people pay and share and do their part? They really don't, and so you got a couple people doing it all. In downtown here, is it a better look if we just take that out of their hands and just do that once in a while? I don't know. I mean, I'm okay either way, I think, but I understand why we started doing it.
Does the city want?
I just know every business around me's got, they're doing it themselves or they're hiring somebody to do it, you know, so.
They call mine. We have ours.
But you guys are all property owners. Like, we have businesses that are making less than $40,000 a year, and like, having access to our buildings is so important. I understand that it's a frustration. This is coming out of the money from the bid, but this is a streetscape improvement. It was considered under beautification, and the whole point of the bid is to create a vibrant atmosphere that's accessible to downtown. And so you guys haven't spent much money on this. If you broke it out over the last 5 years, we're not getting as much, so it's probably not going to be a problem. But having the ability and again, you're having your chair, and Dave has always been the one at the helm, deciding when it was safe or unsafe. You know, he has people coming in his office all day long and he can see when there's problems. It's even just opening car doors for people. We already have a problem with people wanting to come downtown with construction, with parking issues. The last thing we want to do during the holiday season is hinder the ability for people to engage with our businesses. And you guys need to be able to maintain, but our small businesses won't. And so I think it's a very very great thing that you guys offer as an option, but again, not doing it every week where you're blowing your budget on only snow removal.
We do have a motion on the table. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Sure. Yeah. Josh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or two.
And it,
I don't think I voted.
I didn't either. How about I?
Oh, there was a lot of
Aye.
people who didn't vote, so.
Let's go around the room.
yeah,
Let's do it.
You start with John.
Yes.
yes.
You said aye. No, not voting.
Opposed.
Opposed.
Ernie?
I think at this current rate, I'd be opposed to it, but.
That's even. Oh.
Wait.
Look today.
Was Hunter yes or no?
I'm gonna say aye this year.
I see. That's where I feel.
You have 5.
What did Cheryl say?
I appreciate the commentary. I do, I understand it. I think we are in too many fights right now that I can't take that on. But I think it's worth looking into.
I was gonna say I would be willing to meet with Corey
Sorry, doesn't work for you.
or, well, or whoever took over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nikki, you were a yes,
Yes.
and John,
Um,
Dave,
I-
you was.
yeah. I'd be willing to try to get a meeting sometime later in the year and see if we can discuss it. Since they're already putting out the labor to come down and partner anyway, maybe we could get them to give a little bit of a concession.
And maybe we need to take a little bit closer look on when those big snows happen and where the problem areas are.
And it's all different management, how what it used to be as well, so maybe they would give it a shot.
Yeah,
Huh,
yeah.
With the plows.
great
So-
idea.
So I'll certainly try to reach out.
John, I'll get you to contact
Okay,
information.
thank you.
Lily, is it possible with that new street ambassador program, that would be something that they can take note of? We could request that they keep eyes on like problem areas during major snow events,
And
just so that we would have that
just
information,
let,
like,
share with you guys that there's problem areas. Yep,
I don't know, maybe they can take pictures of bad alleys that aren't getting plowed out or whatever.
Yep. Yep.
That'd be, okay.
All right.
Guys, that's all the work that we need to do. Moving on to number 10, I would like to just get past that and not talk about that because we have one other important note to talk about. Committees, the meeting dates, the members, I think we can do that at any other meeting. We do have a calendar that's kind of been started. I think at exec level, when we meet again, we can kind of approve those and then pass them along as far as when your committees are gonna meet. A lot of that work doesn't happen until, Feb, March anyway, so we got a little time. So if you guys don't mind, I want to move on to number 11. I need to make this known. I did all of the work to make sure that all of our vendors got paid. As much as I didn't appreciate all the procurement procedures and all the new changes, I really went ahead to make sure that we got all those things paid. Not forgetting, but realizing that Decky is somebody that we potentially have not seen as a contracted service. We've been giving this money, but they are the last on my list to get paid. And so I think that discussion needs to start how, when, why, all these things. I think that needs to start today. I also want to say, because this happened at, I can't even remember what meeting it's at City Hall, but the reason I didn't do much with Decky is because I was told that we were going to give them some sort of extension so that we could work through this RFP process and et cetera. I don't remember who that guy was, but do you remember that meeting?
yeah, and
So I think we need to explain to the full board how and when Decky is going to be paid, and for my sake as well, because it is truly the last on my list to make sure it happens. So I don't know where we want to start with the Decky conversation, or if Aaron would like to take the floor, but.
I mean, always, but I do think that we should identify the extension thing. So North Barstow right now is seeking out an extension of the DECI agreement in order to allow us to continue doing work for them. Right now we're working on a beautification grant. Today I just put out planters on the street. We're hosting a website, things like that, admin support, just normal stuff that we do. But there's the risk that if we do the work before we get an official RFP, written, and then we can submit a bid, then we wouldn't get, paid for that. And so you guys put $40,000 in the budget for Decky, or for bid administrative services. And so the RFP process hasn't started as far as I'm aware. Again, it can take 6 weeks or so before we would even be able to know what's happening. So, I guess, Billy, do you have any information about what an extension looks like, what we need to do for that, and then advise on the RFP process?
And the concern is if it does take 6 weeks, it's already gonna take us a couple weeks to discuss the scope of work and what that looks like and possibly bring it back to you guys. And this just truly could be another 2-month process, now that we're kind of lining it out. And that's not, I mean, it's not fair to anybody we work with or anybody we contract with that they wouldn't see payment. At least, I mean, maybe not the full 40, but how do we make sure, excuse me, that they get money now?
So what we're doing with North Barstow is Julia sent us a scope of work. We wrote up an RFP. There was a few questions we sent back to her. She responded. I believe, trying to remember, Greg and I went back and forth a little bit this morning. He sent notice to Leader Telegram. It'll be posted through the website where proposals go through today, next week. He didn't say actually when. There will be, I gave him Decky's contact information. So he will be sending it to them also so that they can write up a proposal. So that will be for the RFP, understanding that there is some time. I asked Julia for a scope of work and a quote from Decky on what it would cost to do that scope of work for January and February. We wouldn't have to get quotes from other companies according to purchasing, and we can do a short-term agreement while we wait for the RFP to finalize. So once we have that back from Julia, we can get
Decky
the.
just needs to request like an invoice to you guys for payment.
Did you say what?
And that's the extension?
No, we need to know what, like from you, what
Yeah.
your expectations of work for Decky to do during the January, February would be, and Decky needs to provide a quote of what it would cost to do that work.
And we would or wouldn't need to seek other quotes?
Wouldn't.
Would not.
Would not. That's-
So then we would need to have another full board meeting to finalize this RFP, or was Julia able to do that at exec?
Julia was able to, she had permission from the board to do that.
Was that a motion that they had to make, or can you just ask for permission?
Yeah, it's not on the agenda to do action on it, but I mean, you
It
guys
would
can.
be essentially falling under me being able to enter into agreement, even if it's a temporary agreement for this.
The temporary agreement, you can create the scope of work for that and get a bid for it.
Okay.
Yes,
So
that
then
would,
we have
that would
time
be
to work on
okay.
RFP.
But the RFP,
Yeah.
you guys haven't given permission.
I know we can't make a motion on it, but I'm just curious,
Could discuss it.
how involved, like, being part of the RFP process with Decky, the full board wants to be. Do you want to leave it in our exec hands to work with Decky? It's not really that lengthy, but it's just a lot of
Quite a
conversation.
bit of money.
It's quite a bit of money. I mean, we value obviously full board opinion. It's just more meetings,
I would suggest that could work on it, and they have to bring it back to the full board. Full board is gonna have to approve it,
Mhm.
I think,
And we're not making a motion on it. I'm just curious what you guys all feel about that.
because it's gonna be hard for us to figure out a scope of work with that, not knowing what the heck's going on with the city and what they're allowing, not allowing, blah, blah, blah. I think it's gonna be difficult.
I mean,
Now, can we explain to you guys what North is doing or requesting?
yeah.
Because it might look a little different from what we're doing, or maybe we're interested in doing the same thing. I think y'all need to hear.
So Julia has mentioned multiple times that, she just doesn't have the capacity to maybe operate the bid the same way Nikki does. Even though Nikki probably really doesn't have the capacity either, she's just doing it. And so Julia is really looking for, Jackie to serve as, administrative services to the bid. In the past, North Barstow has, of the 40,000 that they provide to Decky, given about 20,000 with the idea that it's a donation to our organization so that we continue to host events like Fall Festival and all the things we do. And then the other 20,000 was more dedicated to admin support services. So help with beautification grants, getting online content built, making sure, keeping her in the loop, following up after, bid meetings on things so that she knows what's getting done next. Those sorts of things. So they're actually looking to basically have us do all of that work as well as their vendor coordination. So in addition to the $40,000 that they're paying, that they want to pay an organization like us to do the work, then we would be basically kind of, again, once you guys set your budget and your operation plan and your committees have decided who they want to work with, we would then be the contact. So when you have a banner broken, I'd be calling Thomas Lee and setting that up. It'd be making sure that the scheduling for the Christmas decorations are going up at the same time as the banners so that, we're saving money that way. So basically handling all the correspondence, communication and programming for you guys.
And you guys don't get their full budget, you just coordinate the payment.
Well, none of that has been set. So the city has mentioned that it wouldn't come as like $100,000 payment to Decky. It would be set up on a monthly basis or something. So we would act as the main contractor and then subcontract all the work. But again, per your discretion and your choice is not, I wouldn't be going out and hiring someone without your approval. So it would essentially operate identically to how it has, it just has to be formalized.
So, and maybe you can speak more to this because John has done a ton of work, like researching other bids, but there's a lot of communities that take their bid dollars and give them to an organization like Becky and they handle it. The advantages to that is that there's one point person. The advantage to that is that we don't have to do procurement, through like invoicing potentially. There's advantages to it. Now, the disadvantages, I don't know. I think that's where the discussion lies. Like, what is the disadvantage of us, giving and trusting all to one organization? Since we've never done it before. I mean,
And I think until we get contracting allowed in our operating plan, I don't think we can do it either. So, because most of them do though, or a lot of them do though, the bids will be the organization that can self-tax themselves. And then they will then give that to their downtown organization along with, what they want them to do. And then they'll handle it. And they're not subject to all the city stuff that we're dealing with, I don't think. And
Well, and that's how,
they're gonna have to pay city staff in the future for any of those types of things. So that's the way a lot of communities do it.
that's how North Barstow would work. It's essentially like they would be a general contractor and they would be the ones paying out anybody else who's doing work, and then they would send an invoice with the details of who was paid what, and then we would submit that. It would need to be approved by Julia, somebody from the bid, just so they're aware of what Decky is billing, but it would just be like one bill a month, and then we would pay it out of the bid funds. So it would be like one procurement process instead of one for every vendor.
so how does everybody feel about that?
I got a question.
Yeah.
We just transfer the money to Decky and then they write the check?
No,
Yep.
No, he says no.
Well, that's the city's opinion right now.
well, and I think you guys want a little,
Do other communities do it?
Steve, you would do the Chippewa, I know we brought it up.
Mhm.
Does your downtown org get all the money up front, and then also do you have any negatives to talk about?
Twice a year, we meet to give her half in the spring and then half in the fall. But that's Chippewa Falls, how they operate. She takes care of everything, but she does have safeguards in a way because she has her own board too. I mean,
Right.
you just can't buy $1 million copy machine. To do it. And then she comes to us each month, not each month, but each time we meet, which is like 3 times a year. And you give us your expense report.
Yeah.
So we know how everything's been spent, we irrigator. She also brings projections on what she's gonna do for the year for entertainment stuff or different events in the town. So it's monitored
Yeah.
quite closely, but it takes us out of all this.
You're not subject to city procurement policies or any of that kind of stuff, correct?
Was she, is that a company?
No, it's Terry. She's been hired, to run the Main Street Association.
The Main Street.
And they're Main Street.
Main Street program. Same thing happens in Wausau.
Yes, it's similar.
Same thing happens in Green Bay.
Do you have any negatives to speak up?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No,
I'm
no, no.
Very
I-
curious.
Totally.
No, because if we wanted something special, the board wanted, okay, we really want to work on this lighting program in the building. We could dictate for her that, you know, she needs to tighten her budgets on some areas. But, you know, also, you know, she generates money as well on her own fundraising. So that goes into the pot as well. So she's bringing more money in than just the bid money. That's only it.
Right, and that would be identical to Decky. We have a board. We fundraise, we get fundership, and we work with, well, potentially we'll be working with all four of it. And we're applying for Main Street this year around the list. Which is really exciting, which gives us access to more funding, to do more things.
There's that, you know, like one of the questions I had posed to you yesterday was, I mean, do you guys have the capacity, you know, to take on this kind of work? They might find that they're putting 80 hours a week in and suddenly next year, maybe we need to come up with more dollars. I mean, we don't know what it looks like to work with you guys yet. And you don't know how many hours it's going to take to work with us. So there's a little bit of a like unknown for the year that I think we would just have to
I
work through. But this is all,
I have to say, I obviously have a wealth of knowledge about South Barstow, considering I've been on the board for 12, 13 years, and know how that operates. So I do have a good understanding. It really just depends. I think the hardest thing would be is if all of the bids have very different expectations of Decky. We're now working for 4 individual contractors as well as doing the good work that we do within the downtown. That seems a little bit difficult. North and South Barstow are very similar. Obviously, if you guys want to take the work on, what I see as a problem for me would be when, if let's say you guys are just giving us a donation for our organization, and then something comes up with streetlights or something, and you ask me to do it. Am I now the person that has to say, I'm sorry?
it's not.
No,
the
it's not
scope
part of
of
your
work.
contract. When before it just assumed that I help you with all things downtown. So that part worries me a little bit, but I'm open. This is a learning year. Everything's changing. I have to say that Decky being independent, although it hadn't happened sooner, it really should have happened. Really legally the way it was set up didn't work. We're becoming much more in line with the other municipalities by separating out, by looking at a Main Street and operating more efficiently that way. We've had some, even in the last year, Decky's seen, positive trends. Even last night, we got a shout out on the news from someone, downtown business, not even a local business, about kind of what we're doing downtown. So I feel like through our rebrand and working with you, we're really kind of on the pulse of what needs to be happening. And I'm not saying that City Hall isn't, but they have many responsibilities. And so when we were leaning on city staff before, it did get convoluted and things moved slowly. The goal for Decky right now is to be able to move nimbly by not having to necessarily follow the same red tape, because if we are allowed to work with your vendors without all of this, I can make that phone call today rather than wait until your next meeting for the role kind of thing. But it's still up to you guys. Everything's changing downtown, and I understand if it's not right for you, but I do feel like we have the capacity. We have a good team. It's Matt and I employed, but we've hired 2 subcontractors to work with us on Decky, and there's a lot that we do. But squaring this up will be significant for us in our ability to move forward.
I do think, for us potentially not to do something as similar as North is kind of a disservice to what you're trying to do. I mean, Decky was housed in one spot within City Hall and worked with all these companies, and for us to disrupt that and say, no, we only want you to do half the work, it just gets more confusing. It doesn't allow you to just kind of take on that role, but now independently.
Right, and keep in mind, when you have that budget, those budget dollars over however they come to us, that's not the money we're paying ourselves to do the work. That's the money you guys spend on work. So we're really looking at the $40,000 contribution that you've done for years. So maybe even do more for you or better for Swifter. So,
does anyone have any concerns? Like if we were to move in that direction, I'm just like, cause this is I'm open to whatever the full board wants to do.
I think it's, especially in the transition here, it would be the worst thing for us to start slowly, giving a couple of responsibilities here, see how it goes. But I could see, I mean, because we have a pretty active board, but I'm not gonna be around forever, John's not gonna be around forever.
Someone
And
else to
I'll be
report.
honest, the exec committee and some of the stuff, we spend way too much time, more time than I ever want to. And, but we do a lot, but I mean, like the lighting program, there's a lot of stuff that's pretty set up right now. And could we contract it out and then, Becky could just deal with the contractors on that and see
Yeah, you
that?
can yell at me and I'll yell at Nick.
Right, right, so then when lights are unplugged and all that kind of stuff, that'd be on them to do that. I could see stuff like that being done, garbage service, and then just maybe it's for them, has to meet a couple things.
And I would suggest that the vendors that are shared amongst the two bids, because landscaping, garbage service, the potential that North Barstow is getting music, those types of things, those would be easier if I was in control of all of it, because
Well, like,
it's one road.
for instance, we're talking about, what was it, garbage.
Garbage.
Last month, I made the calls to the two companies and we got garbage paid, but North Barstow hadn't done it. Even though, like, they can't use our same ones because they're being treated differently, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it's doing the work twice for no reason, but it's part of procurement. I mean, I understand that, but.
Question for Aaron, was it Visit Eau Claire? Was it Benny, what's his name that?
Anderson, he's no longer there.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if that isn't, have you ever looked at?
Yep.
Absorbing them?
Well, not absorbing them, I got everything, no offense, but, so we have a meeting with Visit Eau Claire next Monday, where we're gonna sit down and kind of just go over what both organizations currently do, kind of where we are actively in our organization, and looking where we're crossing over on services and what we can do better. When we were approached, or when I was approached in October, when Aaron Whitewood told us that the city was dropping Jackie, he had gone and spoke to Visit Eau Claire and the chamber to absorb us. Neither one had an interest at the time. I've spoken to both organizations since. The chamber has no interest because of the municipal dollars. They do have an interest if at one point Jackie is a standalone without municipal dollars, of working with us, or I wouldn't say necessarily absorbing, but maybe partnering more significantly. Visit Eau Claire and Jackie has partnered in the past. Mostly we paid them about $30,000 to host our website. That wasn't effective, but what we're looking for now with their new executive director with Kenzie is really, again, we don't want to be kind of overriding each other, building pillars and not doing the same thing. So I'm hoping to have more information on Monday about that. Their organization has a whole different set of things they do, how they're funded through room and tax, and they're working on a contract with the city right now. So I think Jackie and Visit Eau Claire kind of have to stay separate at this point, but from the conversations that I had with Kenzie, we were both very open to how we better serve everybody and each other. And possibly someday there is room to work on it, especially as Jackie becomes a main street and we start recording some more metrics on our downtown activities. We might be looking at some of those room and board tax dollars too as a tourism fee. So I think it makes sense that we stay very close. I don't think now's the time, but certainly I can keep you guys updated on that. And it's an open meeting, so if you want to come Monday at 10, over at Coven.
Does anybody just kind of off the cuff? I mean, we've talked about slowly kind of, giving scope of work to Decky or an organization like it, I understand. Or handing kind of everything over to them. Does it just have quick thoughts on what way you'd rather go? Just having heard all this?
I would support it. I mean, obviously it'd be contracts and
Yeah.
reviewed every year and see how things are going, but
Yeah.
start slow, but I think there's a lot of advantages.
You could do it and always pull
Now
back.
there's some other stuff and stuff on how it should be done.
It seems like we spent a lot of hours just talking about what the snow bill is and where this $100 goes and where this $1,000 goes. We never get to the bigger picture.
Right.
Yep.
I agree.
Open us up to do the actual other work, not the administrative duty, right? Yeah, anybody else? All right, that's just really important conversation that needs to get started, and we'll work on getting you guys paid with a temporary agreement. Thank you for passing all those motions, you guys. This is actually really important for us to get all together. There's only like two updates that I wanted to give the last 5 minutes here, to Billy, because I think these are things that are gonna be coming up that will be affecting us, but do we have any update on the DRC?
Did you want to hit
Location.
the parking study?
I am okay to pass that. I guess the only thing I wanted to say about the parking study was that I didn't read the whole thing. I didn't go to the meeting, but it's my understanding that, and Dave, you can speak to it, but, they do have it suggested that we should have paid on street parking, so.
But.
Is it study done?
No.
Yes,
Oh, the study's
yes.
The study is done and that was one of the final.
Oh, so we can get back.
Should be able to. I would think.
Anything more from the meeting of now?
Listen to our video presentation from the guy, just went through a whole bunch of stuff. I think one of the things he did stress is that any revenue that comes from parking and including forfeitures should stay downtown where they're from, in the parking utility or parking, he called it something else than that. But I think that was a big thing. The city right now, the forfeitures, they don't do that. They put it in the general fund. So, that was kind of a big thing that he said, and Dave Silver heard him say it. And, so any any revenue you raise down here could stay down here.
Feels like that money could go to snow removal.
Yeah, he, I don't know, he was talking about $1 an hour, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I don't think they decided, $1 an hour and someone could park there all day if they want. It's gonna be an app, and if they wanna park there for 10 hours, they can do it. The problem I think we're gonna have is they talked about the structured parking, but they really didn't talk about replacing it. And I think if you're gonna force people off the street, you gotta have a place to put them. We did talk about future development of the Four Corners. We talked about future development along the river next to Pablo there, and some of that where people are parking right now. He included all that in the study. I can't remember everything, but I think, and I'm hearing from some council members as well, that there's a little bit of blowback to creating more structured parking down here too, but I think we really need it. The point of charging people, and I asked the consultant this, and he really didn't give me a great answer. The point of charging people for on-street parking is to create turnover, and people can come and park. And I asked him during the day, now that they're enforcing stuff, are you actually seeing any turnover crime? I don't think he necessarily answered that, but I think during the day for sure, with what they're doing right now, there seems like there's a lot of spots there. It's probably the nighttime and weekends where it seems like they're very, very crowded. But again, if you don't have a ramp to put them to, you have to have something. I also asked him about discounts for, parking and and he said Todd Work can do all this stuff now with his electronics. He said, okay, you got somebody that runs a beauty shop, and they got like 10 part-time people that come in. Well, they can't buy 10 $50 passes to the parking ramp for people, but could there be a thing where they buy one and it could tell by license plate that, oh, there's only one of these people in here at this time. He seemed to think something like that might work. That would keep the people off the streets as well. So I don't know.
Timeline for this, or?
Yeah, time.
Yeah.
I was at that meeting too, which is, the full presentation for the report, I think is also available online, or will be. Totally worth a watch, or like looking through the 70-page PowerPoint. Really in depth in terms of sort of some of the stuff you went over, which was really nice. The next steps are, it'll be presented to council now. And they essentially just accept that it was completed and that these were the results. So they're not accepting that those are the changes that will be happening. They're just saying like, yep, study was done. These are what were presented. We acknowledge that more or less. And then that'll kind of kick off the conversations that need to happen. And I think that's just the biggest part, is making sure that, from Ricky again, we'll be able to help communicate some of that stuff, like relevant things for people to show up to, because yeah, it's gonna happen. That's sort of the end game of the study. And so now it's just a matter of making sure that we're showing up at the table, our voices are being heard in terms of concerns or how this can look like. John, who did it, really stressed that, it's not great, as we know. And it kind of requires a full reset in terms of what downtown parking looks like to manage it. That's really what has to happen. And looking at, again, with that money story is a big piece of it, and I think that will make it a little bit more palatable for a lot of people downtown, knowing that that money is gonna come back downtown, looking at having a point person and communicating things and looking at the process for when this happens, making sure that it's done right out of the gate, so that people understand how it works, and so it's getting rid of like block-based parking, it's getting rid of 2-hour parking. Things like even recommend, the first month, there will be no tickets. Process that he recommended would be, every year, everybody kind of gets a free pass type thing. If you get a ticket, no question, and it's waived, and looking at, again, helping people navigate how this looks. So I think it's a good baseline, if that needed to happen, and it'll be a good start point for the conversation.
I really think, and thank you, you guys will keep us informed with the meetings, but I think that's so important. The thing that I've always stressed too is I think it's inevitable. We knew that this was like breathing down our necks, but there's a timing factor that's just gonna work better than others. And the more we can get to the table and have these conversations, the further it can maybe get a little pushed out so that, timing may make more.
Who's this consultant guy? Where's he from?
Fishback,
Forrester Fishback, and he's done,
no, company out, no.
I don't know exactly, but I do know he has a tremendous amount of experience, and honestly, many of us have met with him, and I think feel he did an excellent job of listening to all stakeholders. We had so many different meetings. I do also have to say, though, there is massive concern from our small business owners downtown, of how they're gonna navigate this. I think one of the most important things is that he did stress that, like Matt said, all of the pieces need to be in place, all of it needs to be communicated before we roll it out. And that was really, if you guys remember a year and a half ago, the problem when it was presented to us was when questions were asked, there was no answer. And we wanted more time to hear how it would roll out. Do you guys have, any way of stopping it? Probably not. But I do think the focus is on making sure it's done right. And he did mention multiple times too, that there has to be a phase to it. There has to be an outward communication. It can't just be done and plopped down, that the community at large needs to know. And that starts with business owners and making sure that,
has anybody volunteered to take that role? Huh? Anybody? You guys know anybody who's gonna be in charge of the parking?
Maybe.
Maybe you?
It's still being discussed, so.
Oh, okay.
And,
I'm just
I
curious.
would just add, I think this is gonna help businesses downtown because I've been out with enforcement. I've seen how many employees run when they see those yellow lights to try and beat enforcement. There's a lot of employees that are taking up spots downtown and just moving around the block all day. So I think it will help free up spots for, customers.
We've had a number of discussion. We've been talking about this at this board level
For
for years.
years.
How either bids, property or business owners purchase lower rated passes and ramps or things, which hasn't happened yet. But certainly that should be part of the discussion because that is one of the issues, for a small, for a college student to have to pay for a pass, the park. Business night.
John, we did talk about private lots as well. And it seemed to be some good feelings from them that potentially the private lot owners could make their lots available for parking down here. And there might be some way to work together with the city or something on that. So I know that's been a big issue. They did think they looked at that. One thing I get tired of hearing, and it is right now, is the first thing this guy says, and no one ever says where it comes from. Oh, the city's subsidizing downtown parking for $250,000 a year. I mean, really, where does that number come from? I couldn't get an answer out of them for that, but you've heard it before. It's come out of the city that we're subsidizing downtown parking. I mean, Stuart, you just talked about economic development, right? And how much revenue downtown brings, and then the city says they're subsidizing parking down. I don't know. That we have to continue to talk about that, I think so.
The city stopped ticketing cars that are in violation on private lots too.
That'd be helpful.
No, they just, for some reason, they said they can't do it anymore. But it'd be revenue to the city. I mean, how long does it take to write a parking ticket? And then,
And that's when Chief Stanishevsky was there. The police department quit doing it, but now enforcement is through the city. So now that's an area where they may look at something like that. Maybe they'll do that again.
And I think the LPR would, or like the air conditioning system was one of the things they were waiting on. So when it had stopped, we didn't have that. It wasn't working. So to have to manually check. But I definitely think that's something, this is again, we're at a starting point where businesses now need to just make their concerns known, and this would be one of them.
I think the big thing is we asked for like a parking study. We asked to do this in a logical manner versus what they did before. And I think we're at least getting there and we seem like there's people listening.
Cool. Last update, DRC and street ambassador.
DRC, no, new information from last time we talked about it. They should be releasing the location they anticipate this month. Don't have an exact date or anything. Street ambassador is still expected to roll out, March 1st. So they'll start being meetings set up and stuff soon.
And
Couple
you'll
of,
let us know about those meetings.
yeah, absolutely. We'll include you guys. Couple other announcements, City Hall hours, if you haven't heard yet, are changing effective next week. Monday, it'll be open 7:30 to 6, Tuesday through Thursday, 7:30 to 4:30, and closed on Friday. One other thing I had, cross your fingers, I think this would be a great thing. There's possible funding coming from elsewhere that could allow the city to buy software that would kind of tracks, already does it, but we would get the information of tracking cell phones. So when there are like events and stuff, we can see, is it only people from Eau Claire who are coming to the events, or is it drawing in a bunch of people from elsewhere who are new potential customers? When people go to a country jam, are they just staying there the whole time? Or are they coming to Eau Claire? Are they going to Chippewa? They're going to Chippewa. How do we get them to come to Eau Claire? So I think that's exciting, and it would be a lot of potentially good information for your businesses too. That knowing who's coming downtown, where they're coming from, you know, just all that.
Yeah, house, we started talking about.
Oh, no, sorry. No. So hopefully that happens. I think it would be very exciting. It would be good, especially for businesses, to help learn about the customer base, the people visiting different parts of the city and stuff.
You already purchased the software?
We haven't yet. It's still being discussed, but we're really hopeful that it's going to happen because I mean, it'd be very beneficial for everybody.
If you don't purchase it or if you want to support the software.
Okay.
So city has a new DRC location already picked out and they're gonna announce it this month.
The city does not. The city's not
Private.
doing the Day Resource Center. Western Dairyland does.
Yeah, so
They
we
have
will
the
hear that.
location picked out, done.
I don't know that it's done yet. They're working with the property owner. So there are confidentiality agreements and stuff, until they're, at an agreement, the final agreement to purchase.
And when I first found this out, I just want you to know that I had made a suggestion that we don't know where this is. It's not being announced because it's private, but, I did suggest or ask, that if there was an adjacent business or homeowner, that please let them know what's going on before it makes it to the media, because that is exactly the problem that they ran into last time, is that, poor Rose found out about it, like,
Would they have to rezone it or get a variance or something to do something like this? You know,
Well,
that-
is it a commercial?
But if the city donating $500,000 to this project?
Part of the ARPA funding?
From ARPA funding, there is a grant that was approved to purchase or remodel. Yes.
Who makes the decision for that $500,000?
It'll go to Western Dairyland to purchase or remodel.
I don't know, but, so we got 500,000 city, and we just automatically give it to Western Dairyland?
Do they do
count-
an RFP?
Council approved
The
it.
council approved the funding, and hopefully we're finalizing the agreement. It'll go to council, next meeting,
Will they know where it's gonna be at?
if it's released by then, but the money's not contingent on the location. The funding was approved to purchase or remodel,
From the city?
correct?
It's not a new bill this time.
No.
Yeah, John, thank you for that.
I have one for involvement.
I was gonna say, I got one little announcement too, but yeah, take the, and then we can adjourn.
Yeah, certain shit, certain things.
I thought you said this is gonna be an hour.
I tried it.
Okay, this one's super important.
This is very important.
January 13th, council has invited the bids to a listening session that will be held immediately following their council meeting on Monday, January 13th. There are meetings at 6 p.m., so it would be after that. The location is undetermined at this point. It should be in council chambers. However, there's a little hang up and it might be at the library. I will be sending out an invite to you guys on it with the basic agenda to let you know about it. But again, right now we're assuming it's gonna be in council chambers. It's hard to say. This is the council people brought it forward. They felt that they needed more information about what's going on with the bid city relationship and to learn more about how bids generally operate throughout the state. Aaron Welty from WBDC or Ray French will be in attendance to speak to that. I'll just be speaking a little bit on the role that the bid, the things that you do that are so great, just to call to attention some of the things each bid contributes to the city. And then after that, Julia Johnson will be speaking on behalf of all of the bids, kind of about just some of the grievances that have been had and kind of where we are now and setting kind of an expectation of how the bids might want to move forward. And this is where the operating plan discussion is going to be happening as well, not specifics of an operating plan, but basically council can approve the operating plan. And so finding out what the next steps are to kind of get back on track and have all of the information as it relates to how the bids can act, what they can do, how they can track. It'd be great if some of you could be there. If you don't feel comfortable, it's fine too. But certainly this is an important time for bids and council and the city to kind of get in the same room and just really explain what the vision you guys have for bids are and where you see kind of these stressors getting in interfering with that work and how we can all move forward.
What's the format for that? Or is everybody allowed to talk or is it?
Yeah, so it's a listening session, which is different than a work session. So work sessions are called by city staff. A listening session is called by two council members bring forward an agenda item that they feel is important. So it is different than a normal public speaking moment at council. So you're not limited to 3 minutes. There is an agenda. Kate Felton will be running the meeting. There's an agenda that will follow, and then there's a question and answer period. So council is able to ask anyone in the room questions, and anyone will be able to speak on it for the length of time that is appropriate. And again, like I said, Kate Felton's going to moderate. So that's what's happening. I also should just mention though that Dave,
I think everybody should go that can go, but I also think it should be in the city council.
Dave Silver did send out a little memo to city council that was forwarded to me about bid and city policy. And so Kate Felton was asking Dave if he had shared it with any of you yet, and if not, she requested it be shared with you. Because it is the first time that we're seeing something in writing on some of this stuff that the bids have maybe been asking for a while. I think it's important that you guys have the information that council has received on this to be prepared for any questions that come up or any information that you want to address per that memo. Oh, one more fun, exciting announcement.
I got one too.
Jumpstart awards are happening. We have lots of new businesses that are have applied. We actually have 3 Water Street businesses this year, John. So we're really excited about that. And then save the date, March 6th is Deputy Awards. Get it on your calendar. It's gonna be so much fun.
Also at the end of January, each 29th
Oh yeah.
Wednesday, we're hosting our first mix and mingle of the year at Cullen. So we'll be doing a look at decade memberships and just an open conversation about what business owners in the community would like to see decade with the restructuring to downtown. So if you're around, it's a free event. Check out our new office and Cullen space. It's pretty great. We'll have some.
There'll be wine. If we haven't left over from anything on the.
Yeah, around.
Lastly, I just want to say again, thank you guys so much. Honestly, this stuff is really important that we need to talk about and get out there. But I wanted you to know, and this is like terribly ironic with this council meeting happening on the 13th, but back in August, I had requested a meeting with Stephanie Hirsch, just so that I could have a conversation, you know, potentially with the exec committee to just talk about basically what it is that we do. I think there's been some confusion at times from different levels of the city knowing what it is specific that we do. So I got that meeting, and that is actually happening next week. So if I believe it's an open meeting, so if anybody is feeling still moved to come, feel free. But I do believe
Yes.
that at this point we have it as an exec meeting.
Yeah, it is. It will be publicly noticed. You did ask for it to be in a small room.
Yes.
So if there
right,
is
if there's
gonna be a lot of
anybody
people
that-
showing up, we need to schedule a different room,
Yeah.
or it's gonna be really uncomfortable and it's probably warm and.
I think we should be good, but
Okay.
yes, if you need any more info, reach out. Meeting adjourned. Steve, I'm sorry. I tried.